Hi there, this is Jim the Keys bartender, and I'm here with Papa Joe. We're doing this show. I'm banking this show because next week I have my coworker Holly at the Catch restaurant in Key Largo is going on for British fans on a holiday.
Oh, goodness, indeed. Hip hip.
She's going to California, and she's going to one of those 3-day concert events where, you know, you buy tickets, have a multi-stage thing and stuff. And Holly deserved it. She works really hard. And she did fill in for me when I went to Poland. And I went to Poland for 2 weeks. And I imagine when you're having at a small restaurant or a small company, when you have very few employees and you have several employees that work the lion's share of the hours. And I have, out of everyone where I work, I have the most shifts. Total shifts, bartending shifts.
Okay.
Followed by Holly. And then Paige. And then Victoria. And what happens is when you go, you have, those people have to give up their normal days off to come in. And I do appreciate that. I do.
That's the way teamwork works.
And I'm gonna go and do that next week. I think I might be able to do, if we could do like a day one, maybe do another one, day one on Tuesday. We're using our powered mic, so you might hear a slight cavernous echoes of the house because I don't have the soundproofing for it. But it's still better than some of the echoey shit I put out. I have a problem with my jack detecting. My jack is jacking me off right now.
Yeah,
my jack is jacking me off.
Jacked you good.
It jacked me good. So we're here. I got Papa Joe, his favorite, his Coca Cola with the real sugar.
Yes, the Mexican Coca Cola.
The Mexican Coca Cola.
It comes here legally.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got it at the Publix. So you can really tell the difference when you're drinking that?
Yeah, we're both old enough to know that when we were kids and we drank a Coke, small bottle, or this being the normal bottle, used to get out of the machine.
Yeah.
You put 10 cents in.
And you
open the door and then, you pulled it out of the individual slot.
Yes.
Remember those machines?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you're a kid and you taste the Coke, that's what Coke tasted like. Then, time goes by they start using
high fructose
corn syrup, and they put it in aluminum cans, which that changes the taste a little bit.
I thought when I was in there, I was looking, I go like this, bottle, can, and I go, that's not, I noticed, if I remember correctly, Joe likes he likes the bottle, the glass.
And the Mexican one, because...
Oh, I didn't know it was Mexican, but the only one they had was Mexican.
This bottle is the Mexican bottle. The U.S. glass bottle is slightly shorter, and it has high fructose corn syrup.
The guy at the, the guy at the Publix explained it to me.
Did he really?
Yeah, he explained it to me. He told me, I go like this, I got the Mexican. I said, I don't know what that means. And he just explained it to me.
Yeah.
He told me that. And I said, wow. I went, aha! I snapped my fingers. Aha. There we go. So.
It's not that sugar obviously is not good for you.
Yeah.
In large amounts. I try to have maybe 1 or 2 of those a day, but I stay fairly active. But high fructose corn syrup, on the other hand, banned in many countries because it is a poison to your intestines. And sugar is in everything. It's really a shame. So,
well, the thing about it, I think, and this is, if you think of it along the continuum of, if you factor in evolution, our digestive system, just like you would a cow or a dolphin, what they eat normally, what they've eaten, it's only highly processed foods, maybe the last 100 years at most, they started processing it. Well, the starting of canning, where they had to add more chemicals to things to make them last. And then you started adding different compounds to it that humans didn't evolve on the lines of doing that. It was more some grain. Grain actually is only the last 6,000, 8,000 years. Grain is something
evolutionary. That's not a lot of time.
It's a drop in a bucket. So meat and recently there's it's a lot of meat, a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit, and sometimes people have been shitting on fruit. Maybe
because the fruit's making them shit.
Yeah, making them shit. No, but they're saying that stuff, but they've been eating fruit and vegetables and meat for the longest time from the beginning.
Right.
I mean, it was meat.
We're carnivores.
So to go and say, but saying that's maybe it worked good for the mix of hunting gatherers and how they needed to store energy and things like that. And then, but this idea, I guess our science got ahead of our understanding of the human body. You get what I'm saying? The science of preserving foods, making it taste good, making it desirable. Like McDonald's and stuff like that.
The science,
or whether it's corporately.
The science of commercializing.
Yes.
The food distribution.
Yes.
Versus the science of what does the body really need and what's best for it.
And McDonald's, when they came up with their burgers and stuff like that, did not think, well, what's going to provide the best nutrition?
No.
And it's funny, actually, Soylent Green, the movie, and actually it was 1971 maybe or something. I'm just saying that. Someone just mentioned it. It was set, at the time, I think it was set in the year 2020. I just read that. It was set in
my guess would have been 2050, but
2020.
Is it 2020?
Yeah. It was 50 years ahead of that time, so it was far enough in the future where they could probably visualize.
Poor Charlton Heston.
Yeah, but they actually, Soylent Green was actually a more nutritious substance for people than a lot of shit that's out there.
Well, it was just freeze-dried people. Soylent Green was freeze-dried people.
Was it freeze-dried?
Yeah, you had the movie, the basis of the movie was.
Well, I know, I thought they
at a certain age.
I know about it, but I didn't know the process. Wait, I didn't have a problem with the people. I'm not disputing the people. I'm disputing the process.
I thought it was
the freeze-drying.
Wasn't it like a biscuit?
I thought Soylent Green was more of like a liquid, like a goo.
Was it? I knew that you went into a vat, and they showed that one scene, the vat's turning.
Yeah.
And it was green, but what they would eat, I thought was dried.
I could have been. I mean, that's either.
I have to watch that movie.
You know what? Like, it's funny. It goes hand in hand what we want to talk about in this episode. We're agreeing here to disagree because it's not that big a deal. Because the essence of the show was turning people into food.
Right.
So why would you argue over? Well, was it freeze-dried, or was it chemically breaking down and turned into a goo and things like that? I may be mistaking it for something else in the future. There was a great bit on Saturday Night Live where they did. John Goodman was being interviewed as the director and creator of Soylent Green, and he did Soylent Green 2. And Phil Hartman played Charlton Heston in the jumpsuit and all that stuff. And Mike Myers is Mike Myers and who's the heavy guy? Remember the guy that died? The guy,
the comedian,
Foley, down by the river, fat man in a small suit. Foley. No. Foley was the character's name. Oh Christ! Okay, Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Chris Farley. So I think they're in this one. No, this is a weird thing about memory. And they go, we're doing Soylent Green 2, and all of a sudden they go like, oh, wow, it's great. Soylent Green 2 tastes as good as Soylent Green 1, but they don't make it for people anymore. And all of a sudden Charlton Heston busts in his jumpsuit and his velour. I think it was a velour jumpsuit. I can kind of remember. He goes, so he does it with the great Charlton Heston. Soylent Green. Oh my God, I'm sounding like Shatner. Soylent Green. It used to be made for people, and they said they didn't make it from people, but they still make it from people. And he's screaming, right? So they go back to John Goodman. He goes, yeah, that was, and they go, that was pretty, and the guys are screaming in the background, and they go, John Goodman goes, yeah, that was pretty good. It wasn't as big a receive because they kind of knew that what was going to happen. So then we went to Soylent Yellow. I think they did this, and then they did Soylent Paper. And Mike Myers is in an office, and they go, it's amazing. We're in a future, and we have tons of trees, but we also have a limited amount of paper. Right? And all of a sudden, they're just typing away and doing shit like that. And then Charles has a bust in. He goes, it's Soylent Paper. It's made from people. And they're holding this paper and they're screaming. So, I don't know why I brought that up. Something like that. Because it was Soylent pertinent to
what we eat.
And we could agree on what the process was for how people ended up as Soylent Green, whether they were freeze dried or goo. The point that the concept was, I think it would probably be better as a biscuit or maybe a hamburger. People are just, someone did make an alluded to it, was that miracle meat could be made from people. But then that would be meat. Then that would defeat the whole purpose.
It'd be like Spam.
Yeah. Well, Spam's made from ham. It's
Of
scrapple.
course.
It's scrapple. It's a scrapple. It's not as bad as scrapple, I think. I think Spam is actually bits of the meat suspended in fat.
Well, glycerin, which is probably just isn't glycerin just a...
It's fat.
Fat, right?
Yeah.
So, there's nothing wrong. Look, Spam is Spam. Unless, of course, you want to sing about it. Like
I told you about scrapple, right? Scrapple's organ meat and everything like that. It's already cooked. What?
Like head cheese?
Yeah. It's everything.
Yeah.
It is everything, and it's coagulated together.
First time I saw head cheese, I almost vomited.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, head cheese is in that. It's organ meat.
It's all kinds of meat. It looks like. I mean, I can't answer this definitively. Maybe someone out there can, but it's literally. You can see the glycerin. It's fairly translucent.
Yeah.
And it's firm enough that they it looks like a giant bologna.
Wait. Yeah. Oh, that's the one with the olives in it and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, it's got
what's that stuff
big
called?
Chunks of meat. Well, olive loaf.
Olive loaf.
Yeah.
Olive loaf with all that stuff in it.
Yeah, I like olive loaf because it's meat, processed meat with olives in it. Head cheese is the glycerin.
No. The glycerin, that's the one. That's head cheese.
With the chunks of whatever.
That. And
mystery
they slice it up. It's thicker.
Right. And I just remember the first time I saw it, kind of turned my stomach.
It's kind of goopy.
Yeah,
I could eat it.
What do you put it on a sandwich? What do you
put it on a sandwich? You put it on bread.
Oy.
It's like bread and butter.
Wait, I'd rather just, for less money, you get the bologna.
Bologna. Yeah, I know what you're saying about that bologna. We prior to the show, we were just thinking about the tone of disagreement today. I'm going to go ahead and do it. The current president, whose name will, like Voldemort, I don't like to say his name too often. He's on the White House lawn. I don't know if you watched this. He gave a little press conference on the thing, and it's all in the news right now. He goes, besides agreeing that he asked Ukraine to investigate the Bidens, he mentioned that maybe China should be looking into it. So he asked another country to do it, right in front of the Washington press corps, and he asked that. And I went on Facebook and I parried it, and I said, maybe we should. I like that since it's okay to do it because the president doesn't understand. I'd like to ask France and I think he said Germany or maybe Canada to investigate the Trumps. Just get all the dirt on the Trumps so the next election, so that's all right, right? It's just all right now. So someone goes and says to me, the guy sends it says, well, you got to do Obama first. And I go, hey, you done it. Do you understand I just did a parody of what just happened? What the guy you support just said. And he could have very well have said, do Obama first. But he chose not to. But then again, he's, everyone thinks he's a very stable genius. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the Quebec. But the level of discourse when something happens in front of you, like the police officer.
The one in Dallas?
Yeah. She goes in, she just got convicted. She goes to the wrong apartment. Guy's eating cookies and cream ice cream or something like that, supposedly. And I guess the door's unlocked or something. Because why would she be unlocking her door? And if she doesn't have the right key? I don't get that part. She opens I guess the door's unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be.
Yeah, she walked in.
She walks right in. Why? If the door to my apartment was unlocked, I'd question whether it's my apartment. And then I'd have to look around.
Well, evidently that put her on high alert. and then upon seeing him. But there's other things like the big bright red welcome doormat outside his door that she didn't have.
And I'm sure that
she's on the floor above him. So whether she took the stairs, she counted the wrong floors, or she took the elevator, she pushed the wrong button.
I've done that before, but I was intoxicated.
Yeah,
I was intoxicated
and that's where I'm kind of going with this. She says, "Oh, I worked a lot of hours." Well, on the job.
But intoxicated, that would be I don't know if it's an affirmative defense, but what happened is, the nice thing about it, there is a silver lining to this whole thing. It was horrible that she got 10 years, which was kind of generous.
Yeah, well, she got convicted of murder and sentenced to 10 years.
It
is very generous.
Very generous. But the brother, thinking about it, in the end, when they did the impact statements, the brother asked, he said he still loves the person as a person, asked if he can give her a hug. And she gave him a hug. And the judge, who was a black woman, gave her a hug and a Bible. And I'll tell you, for a shitty situation, a very shitty situation, that was a beautiful thing. It reminded me of the reconciliation committees that Nelson Mandela instituted after apartheid. Because, holy shit.
Well, what else was he left with? But that was the smartest move.
It was the smartest move.
Brilliant.
It was much like after the Civil War, where Abraham Lincoln knew that he was going to have to heal the country, and you had a lot of people with hard feelings. And the shame about it, when it comes to extremism, on the right and the left. On the right and the left. I'll say that. I will not equate white nationalists with the left people. The left people aren't that way. The most extreme could be. But it's not as large and is a large movement as the extremist movement. I think because of the way you identify, it's easier to identify with a race of people and they get a bigger bulk of people. So extremism on the left is smaller due to the way they identify in these little groups, and they have extremist views and stuff like that. And there are extremists on the left. There are extremists on the right. I won't call Antifa that group. To be an anti-fascist is not necessarily a bad thing. What?
There's a group called Black Bloc.
Yeah.
They're anarchists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Black Bloc, from everything I've read, has co-opted the Antifa movement. Uh-huh. So Antifa, anti-fascist, they're anarchists.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's great. It's like saying the American Knights of Southern Pride, and well, okay, great. Those are great words, I guess, but they're Klansmen. So they're really not this amalgamous, we're just here happy to be white guys with you waving the American flag. We're really Klansmen. So we have a whole other agenda. Antifa has another agenda. It's anarchy. They do not like systems of government. They want.
What happens is, when they were co-opted and stuff like that, just like the communist movement.
No, much like the Tea Party and the Republican Party.
Yeah, co-opted. We were co-opted, but it just seemed the right went so far in with this guy.
Well, the right has a long track record of being murderers.
Yeah.
Listen, there's fascism and these central government dictatorships. They're all brutal.
Yeah.
They've always been brutal. It's how they survive. They have to be brutal. That's how you maintain order. On the left, you have the true left. You have democratic socialist governments.
Democratic socialist government, not the socialist governments you're talking about.
No, socialist governments, I actually put them back on the right because they're dictatorships. And off you go again, because a socialist government is going to use all the tools of that a dictator would.
You know what? We're going to take a brief break here. It's just for a commercial break, and we're going to go right into it. I'm going to pause it.
Good.
Unless you need to use the bathroom.
Yep.
The bathroom's right behind you. Okay, this is Jim the Keys bartender. We're going to get right back into it.
Whether you're one of our regular visitors to the Florida Keys or you can't wait to visit for the first time, you'll want to stay up to date on everything that's going on in the Florida Keys. To learn all the secrets, tips, and the stuff we don't talk about to anyone but each other, visit 43keys.com. Sign up for our newsletter and never miss any of the exciting things we have planned for you. That's 43 Keys, the number 4, the number 3, keys.com.
Okay, we're back. See, that was literally like 2 seconds.
It was. They don't know that.
So, no, you don't know that, but we did that just so our production company can put in a little advertisement into it. So, as you were saying, I would equate historically, I am a student of history, and that whenever there's a revolution, the moderates are co-opted. They're always co-opted, and they're the victims. The moderates are always victims. If you think of the spectrum of, some people like to call it a circle or a line, but I would call it more of a circle because extremism, like Pol Pot and what do you call Nazi right wing? Because if you start going right out, it starts going. You get divergent views. You get more nationalism on this side. You get internationalism, they say, and communitarian things. And it starts going by. And then you have people that are willing to do things further as you go down there. And in the beginning, in the end, they meet again. Like Pol Pot, they killed people in Cambodia because they looked smart. When they had glasses, that means they read. Because it was an agrarian country. If you have glasses, you don't need glasses if you're a farmer or something. Yes, you do. You got to look at stuff. You got to be able to do some things. But they put people in concentration camps. They killed, for a small country, they killed over 1 million people. I think there was, Cambodia had something like 14 million people. They killed over 1 million. Same thing in, look at that. The Austin Powers thing.
It's my Austin Powers song.
Nigel, what was his name? Nigel. Yeah. Nigel something. Here, and it's like Michael York. So we're back. So what the way I would say about this agreement is that, okay, the guy's doing something wrong. This current president's doing something wrong. Why do you have to defend him? Because you went all in on him? And forget about this. You know in your heart of hearts, Obama did not do those stuff. He did not do things the corrupt stuff. The guy's intelligent. He was the true stable genius.
Yeah, if Obama's guilty of something, perhaps maybe being timid, where historically maybe presidents would not have been timid. I'll bring red lines of Syria and the Ukraine.
Yeah.
But I've heard him talk, and it wasn't so much timid. It was a very deliberate, well-articulated policy to avoid greater conflict. And given the positioning of Russia in those two theaters, what we could have ended up with, mind you, during both of those, there's the Iran lingering in the background, and there was we need to get this other thing out of Iran because they're working on nuclear weapons. So you have this.
Remember when prior to the election, I think it was the 2012 that Obama said I wouldn't have a problem, or it could have been 2008. I wouldn't have a problem sitting down talking to these despots. And these holier-than-thou motherfuckers right now said, I can't believe that you said that.
Right.
You freaked out.
We don't do that as
We don't do that as Americans.
Right.
And this guy legitimized a dictator that uses anti-aircraft weapons to assassinate or to what do they call that when you kill someone? When the state kills someone, to execute people. to actually use it. He uses that and uses poison and things like that. And then you have Vladimir Putin that uses a state where they murder journalists and things like that, and discrediting journalists and vilifying whole groups of people, the LGBTQ community in Russia.
It's horrible.
It's horrible over there. And it's a way to where the people in power, the oligarchs that are in charge, do not give a shit. They got gay people in their family. They love them. They love their family members.
Of course
they do. Donald Trump loves his family and stuff like that. He just doesn't love your family. He doesn't give a shit about your family.
But you have you have this unbridled support in the face of what should be irrefutable facts. So
and bending of the rules for stuff like this. Oh, well, you know what? They're doing something bad. We're just asking them to investigate people that do. And, the same thing if our allies, when we had great allies under Obama, the European Union was way into us and stuff like that. And so, they were because we've given up all our... Well, you know what? How are we doing right now? We're falling behind against Russia and China.
There's a reason why we paid.
We are weaker. We are weaker now than ever before under this president.
And it's going to have the ripple effects will go on even with the next president and the president after. After World War II,
he set a precedence for how presidents behave, and now
over.
They can't. Now, if you investigate him, it says like how is a Republican led Congress going to be able to subpoena records from a Democratic president now? How are we going to hold a Democratic president responsible for their behavior?
Remember the Dallas officer who shot the black guy we just talked about? Here's the decision you leave rational Americans with. Something Joe Biden 2 days ago got a lot of heat over.
Yeah.
And the heat that he got was he was not responding in kind enough to Trump. He wasn't, in other words, being Fighting Joe.
Yes.
He was being calculated and parsing his words, being very careful.
Yeah.
All right. Again, I've actually met Joe Biden. So it wasn't a very long discourse.
Did you meet him down here? Because, he came down here a couple times.
Yeah, and I was working that detail. And had a little FaceTime with him.
Oh, really? How was he?
He's an amazing guy. Someone had told him that my son was sick.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, Bo was sick. Someone had told him my son had passed.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that another sergeant had mentioned that to him. He dropped what he was doing. Mm-hmm. Now, when a vice president of the United States is traveling, they're on a pretty tight schedule.
Yes.
The Secret Service is a little on edge when things interfere with that schedule. Mm-hmm. They don't say anything, but they are not happy. They're concerned. His personal assistant, his aide,
yes,
I guess just knew better, but he broke ranks and just stood in front of me. We're standing in a line, and he stood in front of me and put his arms on my shoulders. He likes to hold and grab and touch.
Yeah.
He's a very touchy-feely guy. Yeah. Not that I would have ever thought that he was trying to molest me. Yeah. I don't care if he gave me a hug, which at the end he did.
Wow.
And it was a very passionate, like, son, I feel for you. But what I didn't know was his son was dying. And he never let on.
Yeah.
He never said, because he's pretty committed. That was a personal family thing. And if you read his book, you really get that he struggled a lot.
Oh, you read his book? So you read about how he went through with his wife?
Yes. It was... So in all of that, here he is, focusing out of himself. Now, some people say, well, isn't that what a good politician does? Well, yeah. But under those circumstances, he must be like the best politician or one of the best. Mm-hmm. Because he never intimated what was going on.
Yeah.
And because it was genuine, it wasn't necessary to intimate it. He was just having a moment with another man, empathizing with the loss of a son. Now, take that to today's events where Donald Trump uses words like bullshit in his tweets, and he has said the word fuck.
You know what? I do not have a problem with someone using those words. Is that using them as a leader of the country, attacking his opponents using it, and saying, if he said, you know what, the destruction of the reefs of the world and the fisheries is bullshit. Saying like that, that's not wrong. Or you say, I can't believe the he could say something conservative even. But to attack his opponents directly using that word, it's just like, you know what, maybe it is appropriate. But it's empty-headed, and it doesn't really give him a base to make the attack.
He loses the argument.
Yes.
And that's the reason why, to maintain the higher ground, to maintain your integrity of office, to maintain the office first, you second. The office is the representative of the American people. George Washington took great care in setting precedent, knowing he was setting precedent while occupying that office, and not occupying that office more than 2 times. It was too much.
Yeah.
That was all. Washington basically writes the outline that we have added to of what constitutes proper presidential protocols.
And there was at the time where some of his officers said, "Hey, listen, we can establish a monarchy over here in the United States, and you could be the leader."
They wanted a parliament at one point. Yeah. Why want to work here? And no. And Washington was a man of few words. Mm-hmm. But his words, when spoken, were extraordinarily powerful. And he was in such high regard. And here's the great thing
about Washington. I have to disagree with you a little on the Parliament thing. I think the Parliament thing may not be too bad a thing, because actually you don't have to wait 4 years.
That may be a great idea. Yeah. But the fact is, it was brought up as an example of where we can go during the debate of how we're going.
What would you call it? A constitutional monarchy.
Correct.
That's okay.
Yeah, and no. And all of that was...
I'm not saying that.
All of that was...
I'm not saying the Constitution, because you have parliaments without constitutional monarchies.
Correct.
Yeah.
But...
they still recognize...
It was the closest thing to what they knew, right? The motherland being one. But you have... The office represents the people. It must be held in the highest regard, especially by the occupant. When the occupant denigrates the office, when he makes the office no greater than a floozy in a bowling alley.
Well, the office is no greater than the occupant.
Then the world sees us as a floozy in a bowling alley. And it sees you and me and everyone who's listening, and the disregard for the leadership follows.
No disrespect to floozies and bowling alleys.
I've known some pretty interesting floozies. But the point is...
they were wonderful.
But what I mean is, I could have easily said anything else, but even a floozy wouldn't want his or her, because you can be a male floozy, quite frankly.
I think I've done that.
They wouldn't want, I don't think, a president to act like a common thug.
Get back.
No American does. So how do you? Well, we have this ill-tempered discourse right now, and yet you have this young man in Dallas who's a Christian, who believes in the message of Christ.
Yes,
I wouldn't even say he was a Christian. Because there's so many different variations of that. I would say he's a true follower of Christ's words, and in doing so, he said, I'm obligated. I'm obligated to love you.
And forgive you.
And then mean it. And it was not what anyone expected. Unless, of course, you follow, those words or words like it, and it makes perfect sense. When I was in leadership training, the example was if you put your hand up and your opponent puts his hand up against yours, and that's indicative you pushing your way, he's pushing, you pushing towards him, he's pushing towards you, your hands are in this like arm wrestling struggle. Indicative, the metaphor is, I'm making my point, you're making your point, but none of us are relenting or giving ground. What would happen if you just took your hand away?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right.
Really, what would happen? Does the sun come up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Do you still have your point to make? Yeah. So that's more of an Eastern religion way of seeing it.
I never to get back and to get out of maybe this loop of you pretty much get the idea that we're not supporters of this guy. But when it comes to absolutes, like I have friends in Philadelphia that they're police officers, and there's a guy down here who's I'm acquainted with, and I would say we're on friendly terms, and he always supports police officers, which is great. Mm-hmm. But you have to give up one thing. Why is this absolutism always right, always wrong, always this, always that? Meaning, there are people in every field that have been bad. And you can just say Geiger. Geiger was the name of the woman in Fort Worth. I just remember that.
Okay.
She was wrong. And she wasn't on her game that day. She did it wrong. It was just a monumental fuck up that she's going to have to pay the price for. But you can't always support someone just because, just like I was in the military. You can't always say that, these vet. There are vets out there that killed people, that collected ears and did all this stuff. Lion's share of them didn't do it.
Well,
there was that Lieutenant Calley in Vietnam where they killed tried to exterminate a whole village. It happened. It doesn't make everyone wrong. This is where I had a problem with the left and the right.
Right.
Not all vets are wrong. Not all vets, when you're on the left, they weren't all wrong. They thought in their head they were defending their country against creeping communism. And the people on the right, all the people that protested war, some of them saw and say, hey, listen, it doesn't matter. These are these people trying to determine their national representation, their government. This is, they believe that when there's a foreign power and they're conducting military operations, they're there to fight. And they're going along with this system they may not even understand. But they're nationalists. You're not all right, all wrong, all the time. Can't you make a fucking compromise every so often?
No. The greatest.
I mean, you can't go like this, and you can't. That's why we support this one guy. I'm telling you, Bogdanovich, the guy that was the governor of Illinois, and he did all his crazy shit. You can't stick with someone who's toxic. There's wrong people out there and stuff like that. Anthony Weiner, poor guy, man, he had a great message. He was smart and all this stuff.
He also
but he had a thing about young girls.
And his dick.
Yeah. Had his thing.
He had
gotta go. Gotta go. You know what? Don't get too married to fucking guys. You know what? In Germany, if they thought, oh, the guy with the little mustache has some really radical ideas and stuff like that, he knows how to get people excited. And all of a sudden go, what's this thing about Jews? What? What? You can go say, why wasn't there enough people say, well, that's a little fucking radical. This always happens in historical movements. I've seen this. I've seen it time and time again. It happened in the French Revolution. It didn't happen in the American Revolution. You know why? Because it was so, like, 50-50. There was a lot of loyalists, people that wanted to be loyal to the monarchy. But the British were distracted. They have other interests. And we pushed back just enough and had enough aid by the French that the most radical of revolution, American revolutionaries, did not take over. If they did, it could have been really shitty for people that were
Loyalists?
Loyalists.
Right.
Now, what happens with the French Revolution? The extremes take over. Robespierre and all this stuff. I mean, fucking, they go and kill people. Guillotines going. Heads are rolling. They were extreme. Citizen councils. You have illiterate people sitting on councils and say, well, fuck it. Well, they were brutalized. When you have people that are brutalized and had very little time, they're working day to day, very little time to think about what's going on and how we can move forward, they're going to make the most radical decision. Just like in Cambodia and stuff like that. You have the lowest beaten down people. Haiti, for instance. Toussaint Louverture. When Haiti was overthrown, you had it was a French colony. It was a brutal slave society where they did crazy, kind of like Caligula. If you hear some of the stories about it, it was incredible. And you hear about the brutality of the slaves when they arose, killing babies and stuff. What the fuck? They did the same thing to their babies. When you see your babies being slung up on the trees and not giving a shit about your life and stuff like that, you're going to do the same thing. And there's no way to conduct it. But the model for reconciliation, and we discussed it in the beginning of the show, Nelson Mandela. South Africa.
You would no
the
one
Reconciliation Commission,
right. and it went against
peace and forgiveness.
The peace and forgiveness. And you know what? Forgiveness, it's not just a religious concept; it's a humanist concept.
Yeah.
Forgiveness has been around a long time. The benefits of it, the how it forwards society, has been written probably for about 5,000 or 6,000 years. You know, into the Eastern religions. They reflect on how important and why it's important to do this.
It's as important to the person that's doing the forgiving as the person that's receiving it.
Yes.
I mean, it could be even more so. And it enables them to move forward and to do something constructive afterwards.
We come from a Western society that's hoodwinked on a certain aspect, a certain variant, a strain, a certain Soylent Green version of Christianity that's hell bent on the Pentateuch, on the 5 books of the Old Testament, where an eye for an
Leviticus.
eye. Yeah, the Levitical rule essentially is it's our version, it's Western Christian version of Muslim radical religious rule.
And they would throw, just like the guys they would throw
they've done it.
People off the roofs.
They just did it several hundred years ago.
Burn them,
right.
And kill them, and just whatever they had to do with people they feel that are, what do they call it, apostates or blasphemy or abomination. An abomination.
Right. Well, blasphemy was a huge one. God forbid you say something that a person in the church takes issue with.
Blasphemy. I mean, if you could go and tell your parents to go say, fuck you.
But blasphemy is...
That's what you're saying. That's blasphemy.
Yeah, but blasphemy is also, I disagree with you. Blasphemy is, I don't think you're translating the spiritual word of God.
But that's interpretation.
But it's blasphemy to a sense.
I know, it's interpretation.
Right.
What I'm just saying, it's just rejecting...
The danger of blasphemy.
Rejecting the deity.
Whoever's in power gets to decide how you're going to speak.
Yeah.
And eventually, what you're going to think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is where we're at today. The Republican Party and some in the Democratic Party.
Separate
them. If you veer from, just like what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden didn't answer Trump in Trumpisms, and the news media started picking on him, saying, well, that's what you expect. How is he going to win? Come on, you got to step it up, buddy. Wait a minute.
The one thing I always had a problem with this thing wasn't necessarily they're all wrong and we're all right, but they bought in. I think they bought into the golden calf so much. The golden calf. Just think of it. Here's a metaphor. Moses went up to the mountain, talked to a burning bush, I don't know if he talked to Burning Bush at the same time, but he got the
Burning Bush and him had a conversation.
And Stone Tablets. So Burning Bush may have been earlier, and then he got Stone Tablets when he went up to Mount Sinai. And then he came down, and the people were so committed to the golden calf. And the golden calf's a great metaphor for this stuff. So committed. So everyone we bought into it and said, fuck you, Moses. You left us here. You went up there and stuff like that. And he goes, and I brought you these 15, remember?
Yeah, 15.
10, Craig, no. And that part, when you buy in so hard, why? Why? I mean, there are chinks in the armor right now. There are people that aren't supporting him. There are senators. There's senators running against him. Senator Flake, he said if he's nominated, the orange guy is nominated, they're going to vote for him, even after all the bullshit going on and stuff. You know, there's one point, just walk away for it, save your party. You're going to so decimate for a short-term gain. If you really believe that we're going to turn, my buddy wrote a book, talked about 2016 America being a socialist paradise or whatever, something like that. And it's not going to happen that way and stuff like that. We're just trying to talk about little equal distribution of resources. That's all. Oh, if you say equal distribution of resources, people flip out. Maybe the top 0.1% shouldn't have 35% of.
They must have hated Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower, was 80%.
Damn near 90% on the top tax brackets. And
Republican.
And the greatest expansion post-war ever. And it's almost unfair to use that as an example because post-war there would be an exponentially grand expansion because industry's going now back and boys
converting to consumer economy.
Right.
And then we had the Marshall Plan and all this stuff. We had to go and build up Europe.
But why? Yeah. And then, they needed that tax money. All right. So it doesn't have to be 97%, but the idea is larger taxes for the wealthier don't hurt stimulus. We approach our politics.
The only thing you're saying is that I need $1 billion for myself and my family. Think about it. I need $1 billion. For what? For what?
I don't need $1 billion.
No, but you need $1 billion for what?
I need.
And you were recreated, and people have died to defend your right to have that because we didn't get conquered by the Axis powers. Now, if you were fucking that gung-ho and having $1 billion, you probably would have fucking collaborated with the Germans and the Japanese either, too. You motherfuckers. I just want to say that. I don't believe in your patriotism. It is false patriotism. The patriotism is the people the men and women that died defending this country. Beginning and end. Not the people that go and fucking walk up and hug the flag like this motherfucker does. And I get really thinking, I hate that when he hugs a flag. Because none of his people served. Now, the people that may believe in him, okay, you're deluded. I'm sorry you're deluded. You dumb motherfuckers. But this guy got away with a bone spur.
He literally represents everything that they would literally put fire to. So
no sacrifice.
He takes that Purple Heart from that man and puts it in his pocket after saying, "Hey, I always wanted one of these." My dad had a Purple Heart with 2 oak leaves in it. And no, you don't get one of those.
No, you don't.
The George Washington's medal, you don't get to wear, you piece of shit. What you also don't get to do is pretend you're a patriot. You're a narcissist.
And a traitor.
Well,
he's a traitor. He's a traitor.
No, I mean,
when you invite,
he's treacherous. He's treacherous.
When you invite our biggest adversaries that interfere with our election into the Oval Office without having
it's treachery.
It's treachery.
It's treachery. It's not. He's not a traitor.
I think he's a traitor. I believe he's a traitor.
If you want to say in
a
colloquial reference,
I would like to say he is willing to sacrifice our national security for his personal gain.
Okay. That's treachery of the highest order, but it's not treason. It's not treason. Is he a traitor to the construct of the Constitution? But he's not guilty of treason, is what I'm really saying.
I think he's guilty of treason.
I know.
Treason is given. Listen, if you're a spy for another country, if you get caught giving secrets, like he gave secrets to the Israelis, the Russians,
still not
and
treason.
the reason that's not treason
because we're not at war. You have to be at war for the statute to be appropriate.
You're right, and we didn't. Well,
it's treachery.
If we had a Democratic president,
it's
there would have
giving
been
away
a war.
state secrets.
They consider the meddling of 2016 was a warlike act. When you meddle in someone's election,
if Congress, by the way,
it was a Republican-controlled Congress.
This is the other part of the statute.
Yeah.
Congress, had they said we consider this an act of war, and it passed, then he very well may be a traitor.
You know what? He has such a low bar for calling other people treasonous and traitors and stuff like that.
I get that completely.
I know.
Absolutely.
You know what? Under his definition, he is
a traitor.
And treasonous.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Under his definition.
But it's
by far than anybody, any of the whistleblowers, any people that pushed back and done that stuff.
But it's the highest form of treachery, regardless what he's doing, and
well, you know what? Dismantling the Constitution, the constitutional protections.
Well, the people around him that really have the brains this is their objective. The Bannons and the Millers.
The Millers. Bannon's gone a long time.
Yeah, but you know what?
He's still there, you think?
That stain ain't going away. And Miller acts more like a Schustenstaffel than an SS member than
Joseph Goebbels.
Yes, very much so. And of course, you can do the parallels; they're actually pretty scary. But look, I've talked to a lot of I work in my job with a staunch Trump supporter, and it's difficult sometimes to deal in facts. And I always tell them, you can have your own opinions, but you don't get to have your own facts.
Yeah.
And when we get through the hubris, and we kind of get through the cloud of can we just agree to disagree, which we do a lot. We couldn't work together if we didn't. And then you get to, well, what is it that we share? What is it that we share? And we all, both he and I, we all want the same thing. We don't want the super rich to go, well, without paying something. And clearly the burden shouldn't be on the middle class. If the United States wants to have a true expansion, it's already been proven if you put that money into the middle class, we tend to spend more of it. And it's more of a stimulus than letting the super rich have it. So we discuss that, and it's a conversation, and it's
I would
a back
love to
and
talk
forth.
to them sometimes. Say, what is your goal? What is a great America?
But there's another current.
It's a well-educated.
No. There's Here's another thing. A common trait. Many of them don't read. Not that they can't read. They don't read. And it's confounding to me. And like the Mueller report comes up, and I simply ask someone, well, have you read it? Well, the answer, when we get through all the bullshit, because they don't want to answer it, is no, I have not read it. And so I ask, well, why wouldn't you read it? And they use the tools, I call them the tools of religion.
Yeah.
Well, it was promulgated by an illegal committee, and it's fake news.
They never said the word promulgated.
No, that's my word.
They never said it promulgated.
No,
it was instigated.
It was instigated. Hillary Clinton did it, and it's always the enemies.
Something other word,
and they end up squawking the talking points of their demagogues.
Deep state.
So let's get back real quick. How do you deal with this? Government cannot function without compromise. I think we all can agree that the two bodies are in no position at any kind of discussion, and very seldomly do they compromise, although there have been some things that
supposedly who knows if it gets deep and dark enough and there's 25 Republicans.
This man's calling for civil war on top of everything else.
I know, and that's the one where the 25 Republicans come and say, fuck. You know what? Are we
a line too far?
Did we go too far? Are we going to rip the country apart for the sake of this stupid, ignorant, narcissistic, cowardly, self-aggrandizing motherfucker. And he is. I'm sorry. They try to defend, and they say he's great, and they're on the Trump train. The big fat, red-haired guy that does the big fucking comb over. Think he's beautiful. He's ugly, physically ugly. He's personally, emotionally
got a really
ugly
beautiful
man.
wife, though, who can't seem
to.
He
can't speak English. Who supposedly speaks six languages and could be the whistleblower. I want to blow the whistle. I can see that.
I've blown so many things. How do I blow this whistle?
Can you help me? Okay, no. Fill out these forms. You can do it. And
can I get Oprah to fill out the forms for me? Because I took the last shit from her book.
Yes. Well, listen. We're almost at an hour. We're going to be in an hour. It's
a very passionate conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just throw this out there.
What?
This is something that people now avoid. Talking any politics with family, talking any politics with friends, because they just automatically think an argument. So my encouragement is, if you understand that you're, to compromise. Look, it's not important to me. Let's say if you were a staunch Trump supporter, it's not important to me that you're a staunch Trump supporter. Most people, and I'll bank on this, most people understand that if we're friends, that we can put our politics over just to the side a little bit. And we can kind of point to it, both of us, and say, well, this is where I'm at, this is where you're at, but what do we agree on? This works most of the time with acquaintances, friends, family. Yeah. When it doesn't, then I would say that no matter what side they're on, they're poisonous. And I would encourage you to probably avoid them at all costs, because if they can't even respect you enough to see you enough to honor that you have an opinion as a human being, then they don't give a shit about you. No matter what, they wouldn't, quote, as they say in the South, they wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. And I would avoid those people at all costs. Politics is not a gladiator sport, and I refuse to root for my favorite politician like I do for the NFL. It's not the same, and it's an aberration to do that.
Yeah.
But this is where it's gotten in the social construct of America, that our politics it's a reflection of me. No, it's not. It's a reflection of us.
No, but it used to be that guy would take some money from some lobbyists and stuff like that to push their interest, but now it's like this guy's just taking everything. And I think with and this is the final thing I would say. You know what? If you're angry and you still got your girlfriend and you're a Trump supporter, that's great. You're beating the shit out of her. That's probably what you do. I'm sorry. This is my opinion, that if you can do something like that, support this asshole, that you're probably likely to be one of these guys that beat the shit out of him, being some kind of asshole, or she's beating the shit out of you. And if you're single, you're probably not going to get fucked anymore. You're probably ugly. You're probably fat. Probably out of shape. I'm sorry. You can. I'm sorry about that. But if you're well-adjusted and your mental processes are working, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. Think about your country in the future. Do you think that coal is our future? Do you think that negotiating with Kim Jong-un, who's firing off missiles left and right now because of the negotiations we're not going to do anything about it now. We pretty much gave that up. We gave that up. And we're not going to protect any allies in the South China Sea. So China's going to build all their shit over there. So we probably gave up the Far East already. Okay? This national defense president, we are at the fucking weakest we've ever been since the Civil War. Since the Civil War. World War I, we were over here and stuff like all that shit's going over. They weren't going to do shit to us because we could have built up really well. But now we're at the weakest. We are on such a downhill ride right now. The national defense, economically, with the trade war and stuff like that, the economy's going south. I'm not wishing for it. I did not want that to happen. I wanted him gone for just personal reasons, the way he behaves. He's a bad guy. He's not a good guy. And you got to give up on this idea that this guy, your earned saver, is going to do something for you.
He hasn't done anything, hardly.
Doesn't done it. It doesn't done it. He lost. Listen, if you're a working class person, you've lost step with it. The economy's going south. If you're
a farmer, you're losing.
You're losing. If you're a coal miner, your fucking jobs are gone. You know that.
No, the hope of transition to a tech job in the very area that you live.
They didn't even consider that as an option.
That's an Obama. That was an Obama abortion that he got rid of.
That the idea was, you could go to renewables and all that stuff, and you say, yeah, we'll train coal miners, get into renewables and stuff like that. No, fuck that. Go back into coal mines. Coal mines are dead. Just like Western Union with the telegraph. Just like fucking blimps. That's done. We're moving on. And you got to move on.
And everyone else is moving on.
You're not listening. You're probably not listening. You get angry. I have people come in and yell at me. One guy gave me an argument in the bar. He says, you got to start giving people the right to speak up and say, I don't have to give anybody the fucking right. This is my show. If you want to, create your own show. See how fucking great you're going to listen to your show and say, watch how I suck Donald Trump's dick. And let him blow in your face. I'm sorry to make it so brutal and stuff like that. That's the way it is. You go create your own fucking show if you want to do that. If you're going to go and blindly follow that asshole. It's over. It is over now. I swear to God, I keep on saying this, and I can't believe it's still going on. I can't believe that I could turn on Fox News and see people, the Bidens, and what about the Biden? No, the Trumps. Biden's aren't even in office yet. Biden's not even in office yet. He may or may not. We know there's shit out there that's being blocked and coming in with Trump.
The whataboutisms are ridiculous. As far as debate and argument, bring up do a whataboutism in a debate.
Yeah,
you'll be laughed off stage.
Yeah,
it's a tool of the ignorant. Well, what about so and so? No, that's a childish argument. You're making the argument of a child. I know you are, but what am I? Is the same argument. So does it matter, that politician A, B, or C had controversy and there were investigations and there was no crimes found? That now this guy's doing the same thing or similar things and there's investigations, but we can't do that because what about her? Well, what about her?
They're still talking about her.
What about her? She was investigated 9 times for Benghazi, 5 times
and she showed up for the hearing.
13 hours? 13
and she
hours?
was there for the hearing.
Right. She didn't turn down the subpoena.
Yeah.
She negotiated the conditions.
Jordan's still out there fucking fluffing Trump.
And it was an all-Republican Congress that did it. And Ditkus. There's some 14 investigations that she had to wade through. And for good reason. You don't get rid of those emails. You don't use it on an unsecured server. And Benghazi brought up some questions. Great. They had investigations. They were desperate to find criminality. They couldn't. The opposing party who was in charge of these things. Okay. So what are you admitting to when you say, well, what about her? What you're saying is, my party sucks. It can't investigate its way out of a box, or is what you're saying, well, she didn't do anything wrong. Well, it's one or the other. But how does that excuse the current president from soiling the office of president and destroying America? How does that get him off the hook? It doesn't.
It doesn't get him off the hook. He's in the Villages as we speak right now. He's in Florida. He's only a couple 100 miles north of us. And you know what I like to say? I hope you get explosive diarrhea while you're there. I hope.
And a lot of turbulence on the way home.
On the way home. I like to think, Papa Joe, we are 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 minute. I went 1,000 episodes or 2,000.
Did we go for an hour?
Yeah, we went over for an hour.
Oh,
an hour and 5 minutes.
Awesome.
And I'd like to thank Papa Joe. Thank you, Papa Joe.
You're welcome.
I have more Coca Cola. You got to take some of it. My name's Jim. I'm the Keys bartender. We'd like to thank you for listening. This may not have been as humorous, but it was venting. And that's what bartenders do. That's what we do. And if you don't believe it now. Here we go. Talk to you later.